Hey, what's up, you guys? Here today to do a review of the new Deafheaven album, New Bermuda. I haven't had too much to do today, so I've just kind of been sitting around listening to this record, and it's definitely an interesting listen, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a review. If you're not too familiar with Deafheaven, they are a California-based post-metal band, basically known for combining black metal with elements of shoegaze, post-rock, and post-metal, and even emo and hardcore elements at some points. Their music has generally been described as very expressive, very sort of emotional for black metal, and very beautiful. I would agree with all of those. The label that sort of the derogatory fan label that's often given to Deafheaven is art house black metal, but I would describe it as very accurate for what they do because it is very unique. It's very controversial. A lot of sort of more black metal elitist styled black metal fans really don't enjoy their music, but I am personally sort of in the middle of thinking that they're a fantastic artistic black metal band and thinking that they're just trash. I do really enjoy their album Sunbather. I have it on vinyl. They have two albums before this album, New Bermuda, which are Sunbather and Roads to Judah. And Sunbather is very famous for just basically causing a huge controversy when it came out in 2013. It was a very, very well reviewed album that year. Not even just in the metal scene, but just in the music scene in general. People were loving this record. And a lot of black metal fans didn't appreciate that they were doing this very modern and accessible twist on black metal. But now fast forward to 2015, they've just put out a new album, New Bermuda, and here are my thoughts on it. Well, Sunbather was a very emotional, very beautiful, and in a way very happy and uplifting album musically. New Bermuda sort of leans more for a darker atmosphere. There's still a lot of moments on here, especially in the last track, that are just very, very uplifting and beautiful with the shoegazing and and just the more melodic passages. But overall, there's quite a few songs in here that have a lot more of a harsh edge to them. The first track, Brought to the Water, definitely when that first song first came out as a single, everyone was noticing that it does have a lot more of a dark edge to it. It has more of a metal aesthetic to it almost. That's definitely evident on the second track on this album as well, Luna, which opens with some pretty intense chugging riffs almost that are really unique for Deafheaven because they've normally focused on sort of the dreamy, tremolo-picked instrumentation. And that leads me to the guitar work on this album, which is easily the best part of the record. It's just really, really fantastically done. I believe his name is Kerry McCoy, something like that. The guitar player of Deafheaven just does a fantastic job. He creates some fantastic, beautiful riffs in both major and minor keys that work together really well. His leads are fantastic. There's a lot of really fantastic lead work on this album. The more shoegazing elements are done really well with layered acoustic and electric guitars, and it really does just create a really beautiful sound. And I feel like that's what's great about this album is that the way that the guitars, the more metal-based guitars, balance against the more shoegazing-based guitars. The highlight of this album for me is actually the song Baby Blue. It's the third track on the album. It's about 10 minutes long. And it really just moves in a lot of different directions. You have some really, really beautiful acoustic guitar work, well, non-distorted guitar work, some really, really intense vocals towards the end of the song, and the highlight of the album, which is a fantastic guitar solo played by Kerry McCoy, which is sort of a psych rock influenced almost guitar solo that's just really, really immense and just it's so unexpected and it fits in so well with the black metal sort of cacophony that's going on around it. It really just works its way very well into the song. The vocals on this album aren't that great. I've never been a huge fan of Deafheaven's vocals. I really don't enjoy their lyrics, actually. A lot of the lyrics on this album, to kind of segue into another point, are very sort of... It just seems like they're doing an indie rock lyrical approach over with black metal vocals, which doesn't work for me at all. It's like it's indie rock, like ideas with like a sort of a black metal lyrical execution, and it just really doesn't work for me. It's really not that great. The vocals sort of remind me of Wolves in the Throne Room, but a little bit more produced, a little bit more polished, not quite as sort of, feral and intense as the Wolves in the Throne Room screams tend to be. this band definitely is a little bit more produced, but there are a few moments, especially on the last track and on Baby Blue, where the vocals are a bit more untamed, and I feel like that's where the strong suit really lies in this album, and the vocal performance on this album is when the vocals are just a little bit more intense and throaty. But that kind of leads me to my main complaint with this album, and a little bit of my complaint with Sunbather, is that even though they're going for sort of a darker tone, it all ends up being very sterile because of the production. It's very well played. I mean, all the instruments here are very well played. The drums are very dynamic. The bass is great. The guitar, as I've mentioned, is fantastic. The guitar player is just really one of the better guitar players in metal, in my opinion. He does a fantastic job, but the album just feels really sort of neutered in a way by this production that doesn't. All the elements of black metal are there. You know, the intensity, the vocals, the like tremolo picked guitars, but it doesn't have the grit that I think that every black metal album should have. I mean, call me old fashioned, but I feel like every black metal release should have some sort of a grittiness to it, and the production just sterilizes that. It really sounds just more like an alt rock production almost. There are some good crunchy distortion. There is some good crunchy distortion on this album, especially on the first two tracks. But overall, the production is really what kills this for me. There are a few riffs that are just a little kind of mediocre. I would say on the fourth track especially, the riffs aren't that great. The shoegazing stuff is still very, very good, and a lot of the more distorted riffs are okay, but I just feel like Deafheaven's strong suit really lies in everything that isn't the black metal elements. I feel like if they just focused less on trying to be a black metal band and more on just trying to be like a post metal band with a really emotional sort of atmosphere and theme, it would work a lot better for them, because the black metal really is what's kind of distracting on this album for me. It almost just feels like a record with black metal thrown in as like a gimmick. That wasn't necessarily the case on Sunbather because it was so happy sounding. It was so sort of a euphoric in a way, in the traditional sense of the word euphoric. And yeah, it just seemed to work a lot better. But I don't know, like the best way I can sum this album up is Deafheaven is going for a more harsh, brutal, sad, angry, sort of darker approach to the music. But it doesn't necessarily make them a better band. It just is Deafheaven exploring that sound through their music. It's not better than Sunbather for me. I mean, it's actually kind of a bit worse than Sunbather. It isn't. It's a good album. The guitar parts are really good. The vocals can be pretty cool at parts, but the lyrics and the sort of overall sterile feel that I feel like neuters the black metal elements of it. The indie rock emo elements. It's not that I don't enjoy them, but they sort of cancel out the black metal parts for me, and the black metal just seems like it's just thrown in. But overall, this album, it's definitely an enjoyable listen. The track Baby Blue is really fantastic. I would definitely recommend that you listen to that song. But it's just, there's a lot of material on this album that isn't that great. It doesn't compare to Sunbather. It's still a good album. I would rate it I would probably rate it a 7.5 if we're doing a 1 to 10 scale. Definitely enjoyable. It might grow on me, but really I would just say put on the new Der Weg einer Freiheit album or put on Sunbather, and you'll get a good approximation of this sound without the negatives that I've sort of addressed in this album. It's still good. Definitely pick it up if you're a fan of Deafheaven. I'm probably going to buy it. Maybe it will grow on me. But yeah, guys, those are my thoughts on the new Deafheaven record, New Bermuda. Call me a poser, but I thought it was a fun listen. It was a good listen. So yeah, let me know what you thought about the new Deafheaven release in the comment section down below, and hopefully you enjoyed my first review of like a bigger band. So yeah, good shit. You guys have a fantastic day, okay?